So this right here on screen is from the first episode of 2.5 Dimensional Seduction that aired yesterday, and this is our main female character that is a cosplayer. And this is the manga equivalent from the very exact same scene. And you can clearly see just the core differences between the two. Now this is censorship that we have known kind of for a while now, ever since like we saw the key visual art etc. for the show. We have known for a while that the design decision for the main female character was going to have her cosplay attire a little bit altered to be less risque, and this was kind of like alarm bells for a lot of people before the anime even came out, because it's like, for a lot of people, you know, that it was aware of this series before it got its first episode that aired yesterday, they basically titled 2.5 Dimensional Seduction as the fan service heavy equivalent of My Dress Up Darling. And to be fair, My Dress Up Darling is very fan service heavy, but according to the manga readers, it was way more explicit, like this series in general. So when they saw the main character attire just from the key visuals alone already being censored, there was already some alarm bells, and it warned people that maybe the show was going to be altered to some degree and not properly showcase what the series is actually about. So with that being said, and I've already kind of showed a brief comparison of the censorship, let's get into actually the show, and then I'll talk more in depth about the censorship and what was actually changed. So this right here is the first episode. This is a brief little sequence here with the main character kind of seeing the cosplay of one of his favorite characters within this verse, and the main female character cosplays as her, and it's a very beautiful sequence, and overall the episode is very enjoyable. In fact, I went into this pretty much as anime only, besides a few things I was aware of, and I left the episode entertained. And I feel like anybody that is an anime watcher, manga reader, or a video game player, or whatever, you know, probably one of the core things they always want is entertainment, to be entertained, to feel like whatever they're doing is not wasting their time. They feel like they're immersed in the world that they are currently, you know, involved in, and all the external noise is just completely zoned out, and they focus on what is in front of them. And I feel like that's at the very least what I try to do. When I dive into these new worlds, when I watch a new show, I read a new manga, I play a new game, that is literally my objective. If a game or anything can capture my attention and make me feel like I'm entertained and I enjoy it, then that's all I ask for. I am not someone that requires to constantly have over-the-top, like, everything and be continuously fed, like, 10 out of 10 meals. I just need to be entertained. Now, obviously, do I like those 10 out of 10 meals? Yes, but I am very simple to please. And so, when I watched this episode, for the most part, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was not something that I would write home about. It was not something that I would say this is the best episode of the anime season. By no means would I say that. If I had to say probably the best first episodes I've seen so far from this season, I'd probably give that to Nokotan, and obviously that's subjective, my opinion there, but the point of the matter is that overall the core theme of this first episode, it's very similar to My Dress Up Darling, but honestly, it feels like it has less fan service than it, which is strange when obviously the manga readers stated prior to this series coming out that this was supposed to be the more fan service equivalent. Now, disregarding the censorship real quick, before I really dive into that, as I said, I enjoyed this first episode. It had decent art, decent animation, decent voice acting, pretty good music, and good, just overall vibe. Like, it was a good vibe. It was a good show to sit down and watch. And definitely after finishing the first episode, I liked what I saw with the development between the two main characters, for instance, the female and male lead, and how they're clearly developing some form of romance between each other. I love just the, you know, how they're getting to know each other through otaku culture, either playing video games or just gushing over some of their favorite characters within manga or anime. It was very cute. It was very adorable, and I just love stuff like that. And so, overall, like I said, I was left entertained by the show. So, let's segue into what I found out after it. Now, whatever I say after this does not necessarily mean that I hate the show. I want to clarify that. I'm not saying that the series is a failure. I'm not saying that, you know, you shouldn't watch it. I'm not saying that. but I do feel like I need, for discussion's sake, to actually mention it, because now that I'm aware of it, I feel like it is my duty to mention it, because I've always stated this for a very long time. I hate censorship. I absolutely do. And I talked about this a lot within Gushing Over Magical Girls when I reviewed that a few seasons back. I love it when anime are allowed to have freedom of expression, to do what they want, and they're not limited thanks to laws or whatever. They're able to tell a story or showcase their art whatever they want. And in this case, when I hear there's something censored, I have to ask myself, how censored is it really? Can it be fixed with a Blu-ray release? For instance, is there, like, fog walls? Is there mist or whatever covering characters? Is it something like that, which could easily be corrected with a uncensored release? And obviously there is some elements to that within this episode, but for the most part, it's just straight up a omission of content that will not probably be fixed when a Blu-ray is released, which I think is just pretty sad overall, because obviously, once again, the core audience for this series, I would say, besides my dress-up darling fans, is fan service fans. And when I saw the actual censorship and all that, I was just like, yeah, that's a big change. But this isn't the main one that's going to catch people. So this is a scene from the first episode where our main female character is showcasing her cosplay. And when I saw this scene, I was like, whoa, very daring, very Marin-like from My Dress Up Darling. I was a little bit shocked about this scene. I was like, okay, wow, I did not expect this. But then, when you actually see the manga comparison, your eyes open up and you're like, oh, wow, that's a huge difference. So, I'm going to have to censor this because YouTube will not allow me to show it. I would show it if YouTube did allow me, but they won't. So, I'm going to have to censor this. But you can look it up. It's from the first chapter of the series, but it shows pretty much everything. And when you see the comparisons alone between this and then also the anime, it's very clear just like what they're doing. They're cutting scenes out, they're making it less risque, and it's like, why do this? It's like, why adapt a series that has a lot of fan service and all that within its core content if you're not going to properly adapt it? It's like, there is clearly an audience there. It's like, Gushing Over Magical Girls speaks for itself. Like, look how popular that was. How many sales it got, even in a dying business as BD DVDs. And so it's just like, when you factor all that in, it's like, I don't know why the people that adapted this show, their bright idea was to censor it. It's like, you would get just so much more money if you just went all in. Now, obviously, there is laws and stuff within Japan that kind of limit maybe creativity and all that. I'm aware of that. And so sometimes anime need to be changed to time slots, time brackets, etc. I am also aware of that. But that is the big thing. When you see this episode, it's like, I don't understand the decision-making. Why would they release this show without putting it in a time bracket that they could just show everything? Now, obviously, this could come down to broadcasting and the production committee. Maybe they couldn't get a time slot to be able to air this or whatever. There could have been a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but it felt like it's just such a waste of an opportunity and money-making for them to limit themselves to such a degree when they even have, if we don't even want to regard Gushing Over Magical Girls, we can just look at My Dress Up Darling and just how popular that became, and even with its risque scenes as well. So it's just like, I don't understand the thought process of limiting the very integrity of the series by censoring the show to such a degree where even BD DVDs can't fix it because they have complete omission of scenes. Like, there is actual moments within the manga that is cut from this episode that obviously can't be added back because they want to get around the fan service scenes. It's just like, I don't understand why they would do that. Now, there has also been some conversation around some of the art as well here, so if you take a hard look here, you can see that the very character design, for instance, for the main female character is altered from the manga to the anime. Like, for instance, she's just completely flat here, and obviously this can be a bad screenshot, but there is definitely some liberties taken with the character design, which I've already showcased. Like, there is some core differences with the designs. Since the very beginning, they have been basically showcasing that, yeah, they are definitely toning everything down just with the outfit alone. But I'm just asking myself, why? Like, why would they do this? And it's like, it's a good show. Like, I want to make sure I reinstate this. It's a good first episode. I enjoy what I watched. But it's just like, I don't understand the thought process of why they would do that when they could just stand to make so much more, money, popularity, and conversation around it if it wasn't necessarily censored. Now, despite all of that and whatever is to be, etc., I do want to talk about some little elements of the story that I really enjoy. And I like the fact that these two characters are basically gushing over anime and manga, and EMC was basically shocked that the main female character was actually into risque fan service content. And anyone that actually knows statistics, by the way, for Shonen Jump and the magazines within Japan, know that the actual readers of where this series actually takes place in, actually, Shonen Jump pretty much has like a 50-50 female audience for the magazine. So I feel like, just thinking that only guys read Shonen Jump or Shueisha type magazines is kind of flawed when it actually has a 50% audience readership, which is stated here with actual statistics. Now, to be fair, this is old. This is from 2018, so this can be a lot less, a lot more for all we know. But the point of the matter is at least in 2018, we do know for a fact that at least it was 50-50 with a female-male audience for magazines in Japan. So it's like the shock here is kind of funny, but it's like obviously there is a lot more readers, female readership, that probably do get into fan service series as well. But disregarding all of that, though, I do enjoy what I've watched, and I am definitely going to continue watching this show. However, like I've always said, I don't like censorship. I absolutely hate it. I feel like it limits creativity, it limits freedom of expression, it limits what the author or whatever the original source writer, etc. was doing. I don't like that. And so when I see this type of stuff, I'm just like, why just rebroadcast it into a different time slot? Maybe don't air it this season. But obviously the big wigs wouldn't have that, because at the end of the day, it's not fully just the director or the storyboarders, etc. that get to decide when it airs. It's mainly the big wigs at the top in the production committee that decide this needs to air now, and it will air now regardless if you're ready or not, which is what leads to a lot of production issues with the anime industry. So it's probably a case of that as well, is that it needed to air at this given time, and so they had to work with what they had, and that's just about it. They were dealt a very bad hand. But overall, if you disregard the fan service censorship, it's a good episode. It's a good series so far, and for it to be labeled as the mega fan service version of My Dress Up Darling, it falls flat on that. So, yeah. Anyways, you all have a fantastic day or night wherever you live. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.